Just one question, okay?
Yeah.
It would appear that the trend for mostly elite training is more intensity based on quality rather than quantity.
Yeah.
Would that be a fair comment?
Now in the second presentation, I replied the intensity environment report and discuss in this because they are very correct. But for me, in general, the report for intensity and volume changing during the different age. For the young age, the prevalence of volume, but also during the young age, you prove the different intensity. Not expected from after 18 years for realize strong session, but the prevalence are in the contents of formation of mentality, of technical running, of capacity to sustain hard session, but not immediately intensity. For the top level athletes, example, Nathan arrived at the top level race working in the world when I was young. You change the ability during the age. You are necessary increase the intensity of training because for changes in your body, the little aspect, only the way are intensity training. Example, you not modify the VO2 max. During 15 years of testing laboratory on traps, the VO2 max of Ivano Brugnetti, of Stefano Baldini, are changed from 2 millimolar liter. But your performance are more different. The difference are the quantity of intensity of training, but after the 22 years, not before, okay? In my task of coaching running, I realized before exposing my philosophy on coaching running, I think it's necessary and important to better understand the evolution of performance in middle long distance event. From this analysis, it will be possible to understand why I will suggest a training mainly quality oriented. Because the world is changes. Example, in the 800 meter, in the last 4 years Olympic period, the quality of performance in 800 meters event are considerably increased. That in the slide, the number of athletes we are capable of performance under 1 minute for 4, 1 minute for 5, 1 minute for 6. In the world record is changed, and one, for me, the best event in the London Games are the final of 800 meters. Only also Sebastian Coe thought the best performance we watched in my life at the third competition, without money, without pacemaker. Dave Rudisha realized one approach, the tactical approach, only the approach we guaranteed is victory. And we realized the first man under 101 seconds. A very, very big performance. In the final, we have 8 athletes, we realized your best performance. And in the podium, the old man, Art Rudisha, 23 years. In the second place, 21. In the first place, 70 years. And that imposed the reflection because something that has not happened in other competition. In 1500 meters, the situation remained the same of the other years. Now, if we have 3 minutes 30, 31, we compete for the medal in every competition. In 800 meters, also in Moscow, are necessary 1 minute 3 seconds for one medal. Another curiosity, in the last 5 years, the junior athletes with entry in the ranking of years only in the first 30 place only in 800 meters. In 800 meters we have 4 or 5 junior in the 30 place in the world. Are not the same in 1500, 5000, 10,000. Are positively, I'm not sure. I think that are consequence of increase World Olympic Games for yard, World Champion under 70 years, World Junior Championship. But I'm very curious that this phenomena we realize only in 800 meters. And in 5,000 and in 10,000, they have a phenomena, we impose more reflection. For my best friend, my best Kenyan friend, I think the choice of more Kenyan athlete, we choose the road competition because you have much money, the desire to go the better paid race, example in marathon. For me, I have a great risk to provoke the decrease of performance in 10,000 meters, and the consequence also in half a marathon. In the next time we have the decrease of performance because the half marathon and the marathon are dramatically changing, positive changing, when after the final of 10,000 in Sydney, the battle of Gebre Selassie and Tergat, after the Sydney, Gebre and Tergat go to the marathon, and the performance of marathon are dramatically changes. In Sydney, the distance from Maurice Green in 100 meters and Olobade Thompson are 80 centimes of second. In 10,000 meters, after 25 laps, the difference are 6 centimes of second. The passage of the best athletes of 10,000 to the marathon changed dramatically the scenario of marathon and half marathon. That are the situation of the world record progression in 400, 1500, 5,000, 10,000 meters. If you watch the world record on Michael Johnson in Seville, 99, Hicham El Guerrouj, 98, 3 and 26, Kenenisa Bekele, and 5,000, 204, 2005 in 10K, but the situation, interesting, the approach, the tactical approach to the competition. Hicham El Guerrouj realized a race, in the last part, in the last 800 meters, 1 minute 46 seconds and 6 decimals. That are important for me. You have one athlete of the characteristics, thank you, no realize the kick, the difference from Ron Clark and Zatopek are that Ron Clark maintained the same intensity from the first to 10 kilometers. Zatopek preferred in the last two legs, kick off, push, increase the velocity, similarly the Kenyan. Hisham El Geroush risked from the Ethiopian and Kenyan athletes, in the last 300 meters, you have many risks. You choose the last 800 meters race in a race. The same tactic in the final of women. The last 800 meters in 2:05 are good compete in 800 meters, but are the last 800 meters in a competition of 1500 meters. In the half marathon race has become increasingly popular with specialists in 10,000. If you observe this slide, now 4 places to the podium are necessarily ability to obtain performance under 5:90 minutes. 5:90 minutes. With corresponding a performance in 10,000, 27, 27, and 50 seconds. And that are the progression of record in the men. What does succeed in this age? Are simply the first causes are the money, because the IWF decide they realized the world championship in half marathon, because the TV, the sponsor push much money. Okay, more specialists of 10,000 of choice the men half marathon, and the progression are very rapidly. But contemporary, we are the missing of European athletes and the dominion of Kenyan athletes. After we some suggestion for this phenomena, and you can observe the presence of Kenyan versus European athletes increase year by year, and European athletes in men in half marathon and marathon are missing. The progress of women half record are dramatically rapidly, because if you observe in 20 years in the men have from 1 hour, 1 minute 45 seconds from 1981 to 2010, around 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Okay, regarding the woman, 13 minutes are changing, because the methodological approach are the similar, but the women who arrive to the run are great increase. If you think in many countries of Africa, the women don't have access to the sport. In Arabia, are prohibited for the woman running. In China, now the situation changed. In China, the good situation for women, but the possibility for me that not representing the limit for women performance, because they have also the possibility for increase this performance, because more women arrive in the endurance sport. in marathon, the situation are also are the same. Similar situation for 800 meters. Are very curious. The short competition in middle distance, in endurance, and the long endurance events are only the two competition we realized a new world record. Why? If you observe from in the last, the changes are dated from 2000. If Khalid Carnouchi are from Morocco origin, US, similarly the other athletes, we changed nationality, but don't born in the US. But when Tergat, the first man under the 2 hours 5 minutes, Haile Gebrselassie, the first man under 2 hours 4 minutes, are changing the scenario in marathon, and the very really news are the performance under 2 hours 05. I read one paper, scientific paper, for practical approach. In scientific literature, in 1982, Zjodin and Svederan, two Greek scientists of Scandinavia, determined the top level athletes in marathon are the men who realize the performance 2 hours 18, 2 hours 20 minutes. Now, the world record woman, Paula Radcliffe, are 2 hours 15 minutes. In 2012, in Kenya, 1,000 men running the marathon under 2 hours 20. 1,000. Okay, new classification. Véronique Bilab, sport scientist French, very practical sport scientist who collaborate with the Kenyan team, suggest the top level athletes in marathon, the fixed, the threshold are from 2 hours 07 minutes and 2 hours 8 minutes 59 seconds. I write to Veronique, your classification are surpassed, because now they have in all best performance 200 men we are capable to realize the performance under 2 hours 07 minutes. The world it changes. The world are changing. I propose the new classification from the suggest for Claudio Berardelli are my students. We live in Kenya from 2004. Is a coach of the best marathon in Kenya, and I discussed with him, and for us the new top level athletes are from 203 to 205, are the top level in marathon, but are probably from the next 5 years are probably to revise this classification, because are not easy for me realize the performance 2 hours 02, but in next year are probably we have the first man we run under 203 minutes. 203 we corresponding 20 k by hour is 700 meters. for 2 hours, 03 minutes. And for me, that are the approach. The presence of the dominance of Africa, especially Kenya, is quite evident, while the presence of Caucasian athletes to go down, but are the genetically changed? That's impossible. In 2004, one Caucasian athlete, Stefano Baldini, won the gold medal in Athens marathons. We beat Paul Tergat, we beat Karib, we beat the best athletes, Kenyan, Morocco, Algerian, Ethiopian. But Stefano, similarly Jared, similarly the other athletes in England or in Europe, are the 7 or 11 brothers. He was born in the farm, not in the city. From physiological point of view, we have the strange correspondence from the opinion of scientists and the best coaches. Realize the same conclusion. VO2 max are the same. Lactate threshold are the same. Who are the difference? Still life, the athletes, Kenyan, live normally in altitude. The approach to the training. When the coach, okay, today 12 repetition of 1,000 meters. The Kenyan athletes smiling. The Caucasian athletes is the first step of difference. I stay in Kenya many times. Before the training, the Kenyan athletes are normally sleeping during the warm-up. It's not possible. The best up. We run distractedly. I say with Claudio, but Martin Lel ran. Wait. When start the very central session training, exemption, medium pace or repetition, we changed concentration, we changed the energy, we changed the technical approach. After the training, Martin Lel, before the training, I stay calm, I stay quiet, because not spend energy, my energy spending during the crucial intensity training. After training, the difference, we stay in Kipsagat, 2,400 altitude, don't have electricity. The light is normally the light of the day. At 8 o'clock we're sleeping. The Kenyan athletes, after the training, okay, not have the shower 1 for day, not every day, okay. Finish the training in the center of the track with the tea, discuss with calm. European athletes with the phone, contact your girlfriend, your family, your friend, research, internet connection. That are one of the difference. Another difference in running economy, this approach changed the efficiency during the part of intensity training. Because enter of the body in the mind of Kenyan are free. okay. Fatigue, normally. 1 hour fatigue, 1 hour fatigue. After, relax. The Caucasian, we accumulate fatigue before the training. Oh, today, 1 hour medium pace, 1 hour intensity training. And we suffer during the training. But when the athletes, European athletes, Rötling, Swiss athlete, no talent athletes. Emma Quaglia, one marathonist, Italian woman, stayed 3 months in Kenya. We got 6th place in Moscow. When he returned, he's a doctor, he's a very cultural, intelligent woman. We prepare it. Return the feedback of simply approach to the training. During the 3 months in Kenya, he lived only for the training, not distract. Recovery, the time of 2 sessions of training, only dedicate to recovery, to relax, to relaxation for the other people, not other stress, TV, computer, the friend, in the past, the index of the title of money, because the athlete control Wall Street. Wall Street. Concentrate on training. And
I have a quick question on that one. If that's the case, and you're talking about Kenya, what about next door, Tanzania? What about Eritrea? The Ethiopians are the closest to the
Yeah.
Kenyans. They're a different looking race. Why are the Tanzanians so far back and they're right next door?
yeah. But the very curiosity are the Kenyan and the Ethiopian athletes stay in the same corner of the Africa. Not in all the Kenya we have best athlete endurance. The east corner of Africa included the Nandi, the Eldoret Valley, to continue in Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, you have only 2 places we produce athletes. The Arshi, we live from 200 years, are strictly community at 2,000 meters. Are incredible, are the phenomena from an anthropological point of view. They conserve the same genetic situation. And from the approach, the difference are, I see during the World Championship, during warm-up, we stay Gebre Selassie, and at the same of the scholar, the other athletes around Gebre Selassie, imitation from. In Kenya, the tradition of English democracy, every Kenyan realized warm up individually. The contents of training are similarly, but in Ethiopia we have a little increase of neuromuscular aspects. If you remember the structure of Kenenisa Bekele, you have 2 legs are the same of soccer, but the structure, the morphological structure of Kenyan athletes are very thin athletes. From one definition in 2004 in the cover of Nature, the #1 of the scientific review, we appear one title, Born to Run, dedicated to evolution of the man, in particular for the Kenyan. The definition are ectomorphic athletes. Ectomorphic equals the distribution of the weight of muscle and bones perfect from the superior part and inferior part of the body. For the long of the bones, in particular in triceps, and the long of the tendons. The difference from Kenyan and Ethiopian are the Ethiopian are the length of the Achilles tendons measure of Ethiopians. And the other difference are in Ethiopia are the regime, very strong military, and the tradition not don't have the coach in Ethiopia. The coach of Abebe Bikila are German coach, are Dutch. In Kenya now we have Italian coach, English coach, Dutch coach, but also Kenyan coach. That's for me more important. I stay 2 times in for IWF because I have senior lecturer for middle long distance for IWF, and my consideration, the situation of coaches in Kenya changes because the new generation for the push of Poltergap stay in commission of athletes in Kenya and encourage the Kenyan athletes to coach career. And I think for this number, probably in the future, we have the evidence of genetical difference, but now don't have in scientific approach genetic difference evidence. But the difference are approach to the training, living constantly in altitude, and high intensity of training in altitude. I'm arrived this. In this slide, one of the analysis of 2 modes of realization of the world record in marathon allow me to point of what I consider one of the cornerstones of my philosophy of coaching running, the pacing strategy. Are important for the young, from the young age, the coach insisting on the distribution of effort. Because it is possible to change in the athletes that approach. The preparation are more and more universalized, and the presence of many runners able to perform under the 2:05 minutes in marathon require further attention to the pacing strategy. In order to run the last part of the race at 21K, much more attention should be given to the first part. The oscillation of time, speed, within the different moments of the marathon should be very limited. In this case, the difference are only in the last 2 kilometers. Are not possible to realize the world record with the great oscillation of running speed. And in this case, are the different are in the VO2 max? No. Are in the lactate threshold? No. Only to approach to the strategy at that time, more important the training. Are important the first part of marathon, because in the second part, every people accelerate. But if you training your athletes, we in the first part, consumption, the acid grass and carbohydrate, we have more carbohydrate for the last part of competition. For running in 6 minutes and the last 2 kilometers, 195 meters in 6 minutes, we require more anaerobic energy. Anaerobic energy depending on the store of glycogen. If you consumption the most part of glycogen in the first part of marathon, in the final, if you watch one of the big major 5 marathons, normally at the 32K, we have 10, 12, 15 athletes. 3 kilometers later, rest 5. What else you see in 3 kilometers? The evidence, the different distribution. Only 5 running easy. Only 5 I have a good distribution of race. The other, okay, prove, but in the last part we decrease, we have phenomenal crisis. Also in Moscow, at the last world champion, the first 10 position changed in the last 5 kilometers. Not the first one, the first 2 places, but bronze medal changes 3 times in the last 5 kilometers. And the first 10 position changed dramatically in the last 5 kilometers. My talks, after more 30 years of experience, I have this belief. Elite athletes react day to day to training program in a different way from the other athletes. It's important to simplify its training program to allow that total commitment, talent and concentration could be put on the factor that determine the performance. Qualitative training, but require always check day by day control training. I discuss my approach with Claudio Berardelli. I stay in strict relation with him. You call me from the Kenya, 1 or 2 sessions by week, we discuss, but for me, Claudio are now 34 years, yeah, a young coach, but he won gold medal in the Olympic Games, gold medal in world champion, and the rest coach with more curiosity, more humility approach, and etc. The question, volume or intensity? For me, quality. Why quality? When Haile Gebrselassie realized 5 repetitions of 2,000 meters in 5 minutes at 2,200 meters, you don't have another choice. It's the first. Now, no. But you dominate for 10 years the 10,000 and for 80 years the marathon. You remember constantly during the tremendous effort, you search of smiling. During the competition, Haile smiling forever. great pain, but not signaling the pain to the other athletes. He's a great actor, because missing your sufferings for the other athletes, you send the message, I'm the king. I stay very good. You beat me? No. Psychological approach. Example, courtesy by Claudio. One example for high intensity approach on the woman marathon, Prisca Jepto. In 2013, Claudio coached two athletes. He won 4 of the 5 big major marathons: London, Chicago, Boston, New York. And high intensity in that example is the key concept of the methodological approach. In Prisca Jepto, in pre-Olympic preparation, London pre-Olympic preparation, 35 kilometers at 2,100 meter altitude. Course is extremely hilly and gravel, 2 hours, 05 and 25 seconds, with the last 5 kilometers in 16:20 and the last kilometer in 2,058 seconds. As a woman, it's a good time for the man. Another example, before the Newcastle half marathon, 15 repetitions of 1,000 meters with 1 minute and 4 or 5 seconds of recovery. You know the progression of intensity. From 3 minutes 15 to 2 minutes 5, 6. During I stay in Kenya, okay, I go with the Jeep with Claudio. Today, 32 kilometers slowly. In Kenya, the situation is strange because here, the group of athletes with the contracts, with the sponsor, during the training, arrive the other athletes without shoes, and we participate the training, forward to the coach, in the last part of competition, increase the velocity. Claudio recommended Martin Leel, Samuel Van Giro, stay calm. Today, only slowly. But the pride of champions in the last 2 kilometers, our competition every day, are not important for training, but are important for mentality. Every day, during the regeneration, last 200-meter competition, it's not enough. Not changing nothing in the physiological point of view, but in the mentality, you don't surpass me. In every moment, I compete for win. Naturally, that are one the possibility also in West area. Normally, the young, spontaneously, at the last part of training, okay, compete, okay. That's good. Arrive the coaching, oh, I have diploma of coaching. No, stay calm. No, as most important for the mentality. Another important problem are the consequence for the methodological point of view. In my philosophy, are most important the modulation, particularly for the density of training, more high density, less intensity. In the past, on Kenya, that are more density, 3-day, push, push, push. Not good. Another important concept, also in Kenya, the name, the silent training. What realized during the different sessions? In my experience, the great champion during the 2 sets of training in one day dedicate all the energy to recover. In Kenya, also in Kenya, ISBF, post-training, take an physiotherapy, muscular recovery. Also in Kenya, functional movement system is another approach on functional training we derived for the team sport, is very good for also track and field, particularly for the endurance athletes. We realized the exercise for particular modality of stretching, postural approach, and the thoracic, and we increased the possibility of muscle to remove the blood lactate, etc., etc. And another approach, the chain or intensive extensive. One day, example, 22 kilometers, 1 kilometer medium, 1 kilometer fast. Or another example, pivot, a good marathonist, 14 repetition of 1,000 from 2:54 to 2 minutes 5:40. Are the marathonists, not 10,000. Are changing. In the past, the repetition of the marathonist, example, 15 repetition of 1,000, 3 minutes 05. Now are good for the woman. Another key of success of Kenyan athletes, high intensity in altitude. That are my approach also in Italy for marathon and race walker. I discussed with Brent, with the colleague in different parts of the world, because from physiological point of view, correctly, the VO2 max at 2,000 meters, they reduce 10%. But the problem are the best athletes, the top level athletes, gain for training. Also, we maintain in altitude the same intensity to the sea level, because are not contrary, are not necessary high altitude training. Are not enough the blood changes, are not enough the different disposition of reticulocytes, are not enough the increased hemoglobin. Because when you return at the sea level, after 3 days the blood are normal, return same to before the altitude training stage. What are the differences? The different neuromuscular aspect. If you maintain the high intensity training in altitude, you increase the buffering capacity. If you maintain the high intensity training in altitude, when you return at the sea level, you can realize the 2 intensity training with the strict time of recovery. And also, the maintain high intensity modulation and silent training make the difference. I'm concluding the last 5 years. In our methodology, the concept of periodization no longer has a precise organization of cycling, but we reason on a continuous administration of training load. I repeat the concept of modulation, looking for periods of light overloading. That approach only for top-level athletes are not good for young. For young, maintain the classical approach of periodization of training. Why? Because in my philosophy, day by day, the athletes, when you train single, the Nathan Dix, every day you send me the feedback different. The difference from Nathan Young and Nathan immaturity. Nathan Young, I am the coach. Nathan maturity, I am the consultant. I discuss within the training. Before your feedback, change my strategy. And you are must capable to manipulate it day by day the training. Normally, for the young, microcycle are 1 week good, because they have also the school, the condition of family, etc., etc. You are the professional athlete. When we stay in altitude, one day during 1 microcycle, from 3 to 9, from 3, one special block of microcycle, very push, or 9 days, on depending for the period, winter, preparation phases, of competition phases, of tapering phases. During the tapering phases, the athletes are high level. After the altitude stage, maintain also the intensity and reduce the volume dramatically, but maintain the intensity. The out are not possible. Because the out, only the intensity, surely injuries assured. We send the material. If when you return at the home, my suggestion is analyze the example of 1 month program for elite marathon runner, Prisca Jepto, for courtesy by Claudio Berardelli, that are 1 month of Prisca Jepto. But the problem are not copy this program, but reflect and adapt in your situation. The problem are not my program of Brugnetti, of the marathon runner I training, stay in the internet, no problem. But the coach called me, I applied the Stefano Baldini training, but I don't tell the same result. Bravo, very good, bravo. You are not the coach. You are the replicant. Because the coach for me are in Italia is famous for the fashion, and the coach are the Greek fashion. We are capable to construct the dress for the single athlete. The same jacket, this jacket, it's okay for me, not okay for Nathan. The quality of jacket are the same, but are not the same the figure for the athletes we dress it with this jacket. Concluding, but to maintain 2 main concepts after we have 2 dia for the middle long distance. In a simple way, we put together two concepts that have emerged so far. On the one hand, aerobic power lipidic, but probably no with a specific data activation. And the other, the concept, high intensity. I think that the may emerge the pattern of the modern Kenyan marathon run. The difference for the, we studied in the 2002, I presented in a scientific congress in Athens, 20 race workers in Italy. The group are divided. The first group from 1 hour 20 to 1 hour 22 on 20K. The second group 1 hour 23, 1 hour 25, not the 1 hour 40. The difference stay in principle in the high rate of fat oxidation. The best athletes on 20K are capable to consume, oxidize the acid grass at the intensity 78% to VO2 max. It's very, very important. The group of 1 hour 23, 1 hour 25, medium, 68, 70% of VO2 max. Same anaerobic threshold, but they have the great difference in fat oxidation. In the last part of competition, Nathan, you know very well this situation. If you want the 20K, you are capable to realize under 19 minutes in the last 5 kilometers. If you don't have more glycogen, more carbohydrate, you don't have the fuel for sustain this effort. On depending like your capacity to consume, you oxidate in prevalence the fat during the first part of competition. Example, Derek Clayton realized a fantastic time in 1967, 2 hours 08, but that are the distribution of effort of Derek Clayton. That are the distribution of effort of Haile Gebrselassie when realized under 2 hours 4 minutes. That are the mass changes in marathon. Derek Clayton had 18 milliliter per minute per kilo VO2 max, the great VO2 max. But the knowledge in the past are limited. High rate of fat oxidation, save carbohydrate for the second half. Summarize, avoid excessive volume. Training quality, in particular intensity. Technical aspect, even for long distance events, influence on running recovery. Strategy and dedicate many attention to the difference mean for increase the recovery. At high level, the difference are in 1 week of training, 2 athletes, same lactate threshold, same VO2 max, same approach to the competition, 1 recovery, the day later realize an intensive training, another you needed 36 or 40 hour, 48 hour for another strong session. That are the difference at high level now. In the middle long distance event, it's curious because I see the DI in the first part of this presentation, we changed it more in 800 meters. The concept in Kenya, and as also my concept, you don't lose speed with low intensity high volume run, but you lose speed if you don't do specific training for speed. Sebastian Coe is an example. Good velocity, but good aerobic power. In the middle distance, that are the key of success. Example, that are the training of women. We won the gold medal in Moscow. 15 minutes or far from competition, 4 repetition, 2008 for 1000, fartlek appeal. 3 weeks before competition, one of the session. 3 repetition of 400 meters at the women. 51.7, 52.8, 54.6. The decrease, 1 for 600 meters, 1 minute 23. Recovery 10 minutes, 1 for 400 meters, 52.4. Recovery 1 300, 38 seconds. Are women, remember. And the last part, 1 226.2. Repetition of 200 meters, 2 sets, 1800, 205, 204, 8 minutes of recovery. Simulate the phase of qualification, because the competition are the project in the World Championship. We have 3 steps. And the very difficult step are the semi-final, not the final. And you work for accelerate the recovery. And the last part of technique, the acquisition of skill, what is it? And endurance coaches is relevant. I have the question for you. Is relevant for you the technique of running? How does it relate to athlete development? Technique, set movement of toe patterns. Skill, the employment of one or more technique to achieve a goal. Style are an individual expression of technique and or skill which result from the unique biomechanical qualities. The style is personal. Code are not the same of it, are not the same gram, because are morphological different. Gram 8, 1 and 90 approximately. Co, we have a different proportion. We have long legs, over equilibrate. 3 different fantastic athletes. Key learning point of skill development. For me, that are one of the most important part on the career of the athlete. Practice does not make perfect, just permanent. Skill as complexity is determined by the athlete, not the skill. Is determined the concentration of athlete, but also the pressure of the coach are not possible normally in Italy. During the technical session, the coach talk on the phone. Well, realize the repetition, okay, coach stay with the, no, coach, you stay concentrate also during the technical approach. You control, you emphasize the positive aspect and the error, at the fault. Different how to coach skill are effective at different stage of learning. Athletes learn in different way, find different way to get the same message across. Excuse me, for me I represented the similar, not at the banality, but important law for construct the good athletes New skill can more really by learn if you build on existing skill and experience. And the last, movement skill and technical development are always training. The emphasis and method changes during all the career. In Beijing, during one session, I watched Gebre Selassie, 38 years, repeat the succession of skill abilities. He won't hold, but are the same on the soccer. If you watch Lionel Messi, he continues, repeat the technical basis at the best soccer in the world with Ronaldo, but repeat every day, are the same in running coaching.
Good.
65 minutes, 5 minutes over 1 hour.
Good acceleration at the end. Any questions in the room? I'll start it off. So, for the skill movements, do you use sprint training, or do you just coach's eye, or weight training? How do you work on those?
Okay, for me the skill are all sprinting, all drills, but also during the repetition, during the medium pace, you can control the technique. Because the learning are easy when you realize the drills separate to fatigue. In the maturity of athletes, one of the change of the methods are you can solicit the athletes to repeat the complex technical movement after the strong session. You recommend it. I say, you are not perfect, but important for me, you can observe when are they different from the technical in good condition and in fatigue condition. The athletes, I'm proud and realize good technique, also good control of technique, also in fatigue condition, because in competition, in the last part, don't insist athlete with not fatigue. All the athletes are fatigued, but they have the athletes we coach in fatigue condition, and you know the solution, you know the correct approach during the training.
When you're coaching technical aspects, do you look at foot contact or posture, or what do you see?
Yeah, for young, emphasize one aspect for time. Push face, okay. After, good. In I changed my concept. In the first years of my career, no good, no good. Remain in the mind of the athletes the negative psychological approach. You arrive at the technical session with similar the students at the exam at the university. No, change. Okay, good the push, but the postural, it is possible to better solution after one from an analytical point of view to arrive at global movement. But in principle, the push phase, the length and the amplitude, the phases of rebounds. I use the movie after. I coach day by day, I training day by day my eye. After we return with the camera, okay, because the camera will permit the emphasize, the suggest to the athlete. But I'm not prefer in every part of the world repeat is a narcissism era, and Facebook, in every moment the photo up. We stay concentrate, the coach principle. The athlete emphasize the perception, because only the camera reduce the capacity of the auto-perception of athletes. During the competition, you don't watch the camera. We train the self-perception, and also after increase the learn with the camera.
Question is in relation to the improvement of the use of fats for early on in marathons and such. I'm, from my reading in the past and such, a physiologist has said that the slower you run, the more you use the fats, and the faster you run, the more you use the glycogen. So how, if you're using a lot of, if you're focused on intensity, how do you train the ability to use more fats?
Okay, good question. In my experience, the problem are the athletes. I realize this special section, we name it power aerobic lipid, 12 times during the winter preparation, 1 time a week, 1 time for 2 weeks in this modality. The first session, don't breakfast. At the lunch, only protein and vegetable. After we talk with the intensity of training. At the dinner, also vegetable and protein, no carbohydrate. And the third session on the morning, the day after, no carbohydrate. At the lunch, the athletes go, send to the coach this message: coach, fuck off. Because the problem are not the fatigue from muscular point of view, but we needed the great mind concentration and resistance. The intensity. 2 session, example, 20K on the morning, 20K in the afternoon, 50K at the first session. 20K, 70 to 8% on the morning. 20K, 75 to 85. 50K from 75 to 90. The final are fuck off, coach. But the day later, the sensation of athletes, coach, I have strong muscle, I have the fiber, the impression are similarly, if you realize the science, the section of weight for the fiber type 1, because the fuel of gas required overwork for the fiber type 1. And the day later, I realized intensity training, but at the lunch, at the dinner, recovery, glycogen and carbohydrate. And this modality, in my experience, athletes with Nathan know it, Ivano Brugnetti, Francesco Galdenzi, very intelligent athletes, but your choice after the 6th place in European Championship, I suggest go to the Australia, you increase your knowledge of English, but we are the best manager of one of the Gasol company, you work in London, you have much money, and you dedicate very, very attention to this modality. In altitude, one original experience, 5 repetition, 10,000 meter in the same day at 2,100 with special carbohydrate dissociation. The first, the second, the third, and the fourth repetition without carbohydrate. The last, Brugnetti said me, fuck off, and return to the hotel. Galdenzi continues in the last part, arrive with the carbohydrate in liquid, and the last 5 kilometers immediately increased naturally, sprinting in the last 5 kilometers. Experiment on the practical point of view, I don't know the consequence, honestly. I don't know the consequence from a physiological point of view, but I'm sure that are the modality we increase the capacity of athletes with fuel during the first part of competition, the mixture of carbohydrate and acid grass delivery. Another important suggestion from scientific literature are this apparently contradiction. You know, the endurance athletes are thin men, but are the men we have more and more free fatty acid intramuscular, are the little part of grass intake in the fiber. We have immediately used with little decrease of power. When I'm oxidate my grass, I require more time and intensity push dramatically. And the problem are realize the different set for identify personally for the single athletes the intensity, the good intensity, 75, 78, 80 are needed laboratory, are not possible, or are needed laboratory on the track. The portable for analyze breath by breath the gas aspirator, we permit the report from anhydride carbon and oxygen, and from this report you realize good approach to establish the correct intensity of solicite the maximal aerobic rapidity. Remember, you are big expert, because in 50K are dramatic, because during 3 hours 40 minutes we needed more energy, and or if you have very best in use of acid grass, or you realize 4 hours in 50K, in the first part 1 hour and 50 minutes, in the second part 2 hours 10 minutes, ciao.
Any more questions? Okay, so I think we should thank Antonio for his time. And thank you very much. I think Dave's still here, but the rest, I think it's over to Boundary now. No, Domain.
Domain.